Hey guys, what's going on? MJ Madness here, and the NHL Playoffs are right around the corner. So today I am going to be giving you my complete playoff preview and prediction, breaking down every single matchup from the first round all the way up to the Stanley Cup Finals. So without further ado, let's get things started over in the Western Conference with our first round matchups, kicking things off with the number one wildcard seed, the Dallas Stars, taking on the winners of the Pacific Division, the Calgary Flames. This should be an interesting playoff series. Dallas actually knocked Calgary out of the playoffs during the bubble tournament when COVID occurred, but I think both of these teams have changed a little bit since they last played. Now, Calgary does have some playoff demons to exercise, but I think this is a much improved team from years past. They're much better coached, they have good goaltending, an elite first line, and solid supporting cast on all levels. I think because of that, they'll be able to take care of business against an upstart Dallas Stars team who is built for the playoffs and has a good first line, but maybe not the depth to match Calgary. So because of that, I'm picking the Flames to advance in 6 games. Another interesting first-round matchup is between the 2 and 3 seed in the Pacific Division out west, which is the Los Angeles Kings against the Edmonton Oilers. I think the Oilers lucked out in this matchup a little bit. The Kings are a team that are kind of rebuilding and a little bit ahead of schedule, so in many ways might seem just happy to be even in the playoffs this year. That doesn't mean they can't give the Oilers a challenge, though. Jonathan Quick can step things up in net. They have some great defensive centers led by Anze Kopitar, and so I wouldn't be surprised to see the Kings give the Oilers a test in this series. At the end of the day, though, the Oilers do have arguably the best player in the world in Connor McDavid and another top 5 player alongside him in Leon Draisaitl, so no matter what reservations you may have about them, with those talents on Edmonton's team combined with a favorable matchup, I see them advancing past the Kings in 6 games. The next matchup between the top seed in the Western Conference and the bottom wildcard team is the Colorado Avalanche taking on the Nashville Predators, and I think this one should play out pretty much according to seeding. I did think the Predators had a chance to put up more of a fight, but that was before the news that Juuse Saros, their starting goaltender, is out due to injury. He really is a difference maker that can steal games, and with David Rittich starting in his place, there'll be a significant drop felt for the Predators. The Predators do have some nice pieces, but the Avalanche are a juggernaut. They are in Stanley Cup or bust mode, and because of that, I think they'll be able to take care of Nashville pretty easily, so I have them advancing in 5 games. Our final Western Conference series between the 2 Central Division teams that were seeded 2nd and 3rd has the Minnesota Wild facing off against the St. Louis Blues. This, I think, could be the best series of the first round in the Western Conference. These are 2 very, very strong teams. They have playoff experience, they have talent, they have multiple all-stars, and because of that, I think this is a series that could go the distance and a series that could go either way. I love Minnesota's addition of Marc-Andre Fleury in net. I think that Kirill Kaprizov is an unreal talent, and I've seen that Minnesota does seem to be the favorite in this series. But I wouldn't be an MJ Madness prediction video without at least a couple upsets, and so because of that, I'm going with the St. Louis Blues. I think this team has more experience, I think they have some great intangibles, and because of that, I see this series going all the way to a Game 7, but the Blues ultimately pulling off the upset and knocking off Minnesota in 7 games to advance to the second round. But now that we finish things off in the Western Conference, let's jump back out east, where there are another set of interesting matchups that are in store. The first of these, between the top-seeded Florida Panthers and the wild-card Washington Capitals, is one that a few years ago I think would have been much more interesting, but this year the Capitals sort of stumbled to the finish line in the second half of the season. Alex Ovechkin, of course, remains a transcendental talent, but I'm not too sure about the team around him. Whereas Florida is really a squad that, on all levels, has more talent than Washington, at least on paper. The Capitals, I think, can be a tough out. I think they can put up a fight, but at the end of the day, I like Florida more here, and so I'm picking them to knock off Washington in 6 games. The best series potentially of the first round in the East might be this one between two Atlantic Division rivals, the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Lightning, of course, are the defending Stanley Cup champions, but the Toronto Maple Leafs, despite their playoff struggles, have a lot of talent. Austin Matthews has really transformed his game this year. He's scoring more while also playing great defense, and I think we are in store for a very, very fun series here. And so, while I agree that the Lightning are the favorites in this series, I think Toronto might have what it takes to finally pull off the upset and exercise those first-round playoff demons that have haunted them for so many years. Because it's true that Tampa is a well-oiled machine, but 2 years of Stanley Cup runs can really, really, really tire you out. Toronto, I think, in this series, unlike years past, has less expectations because, of course, it's the defending Stanley Cup champions in back-to-back years. And so I think maybe with that lessened pressure, it might loosen things up for them and I think open up the game. And so while Tampa is, of course, incredibly talented and definitely the favorite, this is another series that I could see going the distance to 7 games, and one where I'm going with the upset and picking the Toronto Maple Leafs to knock off the Tampa Bay Lightning in 7 games. Our third series out east has the Boston Bruins taking on the Carolina Hurricanes. Another very interesting series that I could see being quite competitive. The Bruins, question marks in goal, of course, with Tuukka Rask no longer being around, but they still have that dominant top line and those elite talents with Brad Marchand, David Pastrnak, Patrice Bergeron that makes this team a nightmare to face in the playoffs. Carolina, though, is on the rise, and though they have had their playoff struggles in recent years, this is a team that I think can be really good. There are question marks about their goaltending situation currently with Freddie Anderson's injury status, but I think if those can work themselves out, I think Carolina has a good chance of winning this series. So I'm picking the Hurricanes to advance in 6 games. Our final first-round series is another very good one. You may be noticing a trend that there are a lot of great series that I think are in store, and this one is no exception between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the New York Rangers. The Penguins, of course, how can you count a team out like them with Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin? Because even though they may not be the Stanley Cup winning Penguins of years past, this is still a team with a lot of talent. The Rangers are another interesting squad. They have a goaltender who has been absolutely game-changing this year in Igor Shesterkin, but I think it'll have to be more than just the goalie stealing games if the Rangers hope to advance in this series. Fortunately for them, I believe in the team in front of Shesterkin. I think they'll be able to figure things out with their high-powered offense with Adam Fox, the reigning Norris winner, on defense. And so because of that, I like the Rangers to advance here, and I'm picking them to knock off the Penguins in 6 games and complete the field for the second-round matchups. But now jumping into those second-round matchups and heading back over to the Western Conference, we have a really great series in store and a Battle of Alberta between the Calgary Flames and the Edmonton Oilers in the second round. My goodness, this would be an incredible series to watch in the playoffs, and I'm sure very stressful for fans of both teams, but also incredibly exciting. The Oilers, of course, have perhaps the top talent in this series with Connor McDavid, but I think that aside from him and Draisaitl and maybe Evander Kane, the Flames can outmatch the Oilers everywhere else. I think they are much stronger in net. I think they have a better defensive core, a first line that has statistically the best season in the NHL this year, and better depth to go along with it, as well as arguably being a better coach team. And so because of that, I think it will be a great series with a lot of intensity and a lot of bad blood, but I think Calgary has the depth and the pieces necessary to knock off the best player in the world and his Edmonton Oilers. So I'm picking the Flames to advance in 6 games. The Colorado Avalanche against the St. Louis Blues would be another great series in the second round. I think these are 2 talented teams. The Blues will have, I think, just got through likely a heavy battle with the Wild, and they'll have that, of course, playoff experience that the Avalanche sort of lack. They haven't really made any successful runs in recent years, but looking past the experience and just to the sheer talent disparity between these two teams, and I think it makes it difficult to pick against Colorado. This team, as I've mentioned before, is a juggernaut. They are built to win in the playoffs. With the talent they have, they haven't done it thus far, but I think this year they'll have more luck and finally advance to a conference final. I see them knocking off St. Louis in 6 games. Out east, a series between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Florida Panthers would be a fun one as well. The Leafs potentially having gotten rid of those nightmares of first-round exits that have haunted them for so many years might look to go on a little run. Of course, I think they have the talent to do so, but they're also up against a really, really strong Panthers squad that might be going a little bit underrated for being the President's Trophy winners. I think if Sergei Bobrovsky can solidify things in net for Florida, if Ekblad on defense can come back healthy, this team should be able to take care of business against a very talented Leafs team, but I don't think it will be easy. This is another series that I could see going 7 games, but I have the Panthers advancing over Toronto in 7 at the end of the day. Our final second-round matchup between the Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Rangers, another potentially great series between two teams who haven't had a ton of playoff success in years past, but are looking to break down the door. I think it would be a fun series. I think it would be a battle between great goaltending and some great talent on both defense and up front. But I believe that Carolina is just a little bit stronger than the Rangers in this series. I think the Rangers are still a team on the rise, but I think they could arrive fully in the next year or two. Carolina is in that win-now mode, and I think more playoff-ready, battle-tested, and prepared. And so because of that, I have the Hurricanes knocking off the Rangers in 6 games to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals. So that sets up a Western Conference Final between the Calgary Flames and the Colorado Avalanche, and an Eastern Conference Final between the Florida Panthers and the Carolina Hurricanes. Looking first into that matchup out west between the Colorado Avalanche and the Calgary Flames, I think this would be a great series. A rematch of another series we saw just a few years ago where the Avs beat the Flames in the first round of the playoffs. Two teams that I think have both got even better since the last time they've met. Both looking to sort of put behind them some playoff struggles and really break through. Both teams that I think could potentially make a run to the Cup. But at the end of the day, Colorado is the team who has been the favorite all season long, who has one of the best players in the world in Nathan MacKinnon, one of the best defensemen in the world in Cale Makar, and all the talent and depth and coaching around them to make them succeed. And so while I think Calgary will put up a great fight, I think the Flames have an advantage in goal and a top line that can give teams fits. At the end of the day, Colorado is the team that I see advancing here to the Stanley Cup Final. So I have the Avalanche knocking off Calgary in 6 games to advance to the Stanley Cup. In the Eastern Conference Final, a really, really exciting matchup too between the Florida Panthers and the Carolina Hurricanes. Again, there's a trend here of these being teams that haven't had much recent playoff success, but I think this is the year where at least a few of the teams I've mentioned break through. In this series, it'll be tough to tell who that team is. I like Carolina a lot. I think they've made some great moves. I think they've improved their roster. I think they're smartly built. I think they can go on a deep run, but I like the Florida Panthers just a little bit more. I think Florida has really overcome that adversity of losing their coach, Quenneville, at the start of the year and bounced back incredibly well. It hasn't even fazed them. They have dominated the regular season, and I think they can dominate the playoffs as well. And so because of that, I have the Florida Panthers knocking off the Carolina Hurricanes in 6 games. And because of that, I have the Panthers representing the Eastern Conference in the Stanley Cup Finals this year. So that means that I am predicting that your 2022 Stanley Cup Final will be between the Colorado Avalanche and the Florida Panthers. This would be a great series. These are two very talented teams who on all ends of the ice, I think, are elite. They both have some incredible talent up front. I think they have good to great goaltending at times, deep and very talented defensive cores. They are well coached. They have plenty of depth. They can roll all four lines throughout the playoffs, but have that one sort of top line or top talent with McKinnon and Huberdeau respectively, who can become those playoff difference makers. And so it's really just a battle between two absolutely loaded rosters, two of the NHL's elite teams. I think it would be a treat to witness, and a series that could absolutely go either way. Like a lot of these, I do see it going the distance to 7 games. I think it'll be a heavyweight battle between two teams who can really throw punches with the talent that they have. I know Colorado is likely the favorite. They enter this playoffs as the overall favorite to win the Stanley Cup, but there is something special about this Florida Panthers team this year. I really think they are ready for playoff success. I think this is going to be an incredible coming out party for them. And I think it's going to be a party that is concluded with a Stanley Cup win. That's right, I am predicting that the Florida Panthers will be your 2022 Stanley Cup champions. I see Florida knocking off the Colorado Avalanche in 7 games, and Jonathan Huberdeau winning the Conn Smythe in what should be an absolutely incredible playoff series, an absolutely incredible Stanley Cup playoffs overall, and potentially a very special run for those Florida Panthers. But at the end of the day, those are just my predictions, and I would love to hear yours. So please let me know down in the comment section below who you have winning the Stanley Cup, whether you agree or disagree with my picks. And of course, leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for more NHL coverage throughout the playoffs and all year long. But that's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.